You don't have to do this. This is all just me just telling you some stuff. If you want to tell me to fuck myself, I'll go fuck myself.
Yeah, buddy. Lightweight, baby!
What's up, guys? I'm Josh and I lift things, and I'm here to talk about leg day. How should you decide what exercises to do? So this is a continuation of my push-pull leg series, in which Monday I talked about push day, Wednesday I talked about pull day, and today, Friday, I am talking about leg day. Just like those other videos, I'm not going to be talking about sets and reps, rest periods, tempo, or anything else. I'm also not going to be giving super strict exercise recommendations. I'm purely talking about the logic behind choosing exercises and what you should be doing to get an all-encompassing and well-rounded leg day. And for the legs, we are talking about 3 to 4 to 5 major muscle groups. You have your quads, you have your hamstrings, you have your calves, you have your glutes, and then you have your adductors / abductors. The reason I said 3 and then 4 and then 5 is because most men especially do not really train glutes whatsoever, and both men and women hardly really train or focus on adductors and abductors. Do you really need to? That's kind of up for debate. If you want a really well-rounded leg day, it may behoove you to add them in, but they are not a necessity. I don't personally train them myself, primarily because I do enough compounds that should be hitting those enough anyways. I'm also not going to be talking about some religious or dogmatic exercise order. If you want to hit calves first because you want to focus on them, go for it. If you like hitting hammies before your quads, go for it. If you like doing a set of quads and then a set of hammies, do whatever you want to do. This is strictly just talking about the function of muscle groups and how to train them. So with all of that being said, let's get into it. First off, your quads. If you watch my EMG videos on the leg press, and if foot stance or foot width or anything else actually interferes with quad activation, then you would understand that the quads are a knee extensor. They extend the knee. So you should do some type of squat movement, whether that's squat, leg press, pendulum squat, hack squat, goblet squat, belt squat, whatever. You should sit up and down. To really finish them off, it would probably be beneficial to do a leg extension. Now, your rectus femoris is one of the quadricep muscles that actually crosses both the knee and the hip joint and is only fully active in hip extension. So you could do a leg extension in which you lean the seat very far back so you can actually get into hip extension, or you could do something like a sissy squat or an assisted sissy squat if you can actually have the balance to do the movement properly. Or you can just say fuck it and move on. In which case, hamstrings. The hamstrings are primarily a knee flexor, but they also cross the hip joint, meaning we should be doing two type of movements, a hinge type of movement or a straight leg hamstring exercise, and then a bent leg hamstring exercise. So for these, you have some type of deadlift, Romanian deadlift, stiff leg deadlift, good mornings, glute ham raise, whatever you want to do that activates the hamstrings with a straight leg. And then for bent leg training, you should do some form of leg curl, either laying or seated. Supposedly seated has some increased activation, but that's somewhat of a meme. Just do something with your legs where you are curling. Next up on our list, calves. Your calves have 3 main muscles that you really want to worry about, though most people just focus on the one, the gastrocnemius, the soleus, and the tibialis anterior. Now, the soleus lays underneath the gastrocnemius. The gastrocnemius is the big boy that we all know and love. For that, you should do some sort of straight leg calf raise, whether that is a machine, whether that's you just going on your tippy toes with some dumbbells in your hands, whether that's body weight, whether that's on a leg press, whatever you want to do. You should then also probably have some form of bent leg training, such as a seated calf raise. This will much more engage your soleus. The tibialis anterior is actually the muscle on the front of your calf, or right in front of your shin. If you go into dorsiflexion, meaning you try to touch your shin with your toes, you will feel this muscle contract. You can train this muscle by doing tibialis raises, either with a machine or with a tib bar or with a kettlebell or a dumbbell on top of it, or body weight, or with a band, or whatever you want to do. Most people just completely avoid the bent leg training and the tibialis training, but if you have tiny calves, it will very much benefit you to do these other exercises. Now, the way I set up my calf training is a little bit different than everyone else. I do calves 6 days a week. Now, that may sound absolutely ludicrous, and if they are super duper sore, then I won't train them that day. But for the most part, I do a straight leg movement on my push days, I do a bent leg movement on my pull days, and then I do a tibialis movement on my leg days. I'm already going to be so gassed out for my leg days, I don't want to add any other actual hard lift to them. And I do them at the beginning of all of my training days. I really want to focus on them, and I also want to make them more symmetrical. My right one is about 1/2 inch to, with a pump, probably 3/4 of an inch bigger than my left one. It's something I'm trying to figure out, so I do all my work unilaterally, meaning one limb at a time. You don't have to do this. This is all just me just telling you some stuff. If you want to tell me to fuck myself, I'll go fuck myself. Next up, the glutes, the gluteus maximus, the gluteus medius, the gluteus minimus. Now, for the most part, your glutes are going to be getting hit a lot in your hinge movements and in your squat. That being said, if you want to focus on it a bit more, the hip thrust is probably the king. For your gluteus medius, or your ventroglutes as some people want to call them, you should be doing some type of movement where you are kicking your leg out and away from you. This would have the benefit of also being an abduction movement to train your abductors, of which the glutes are prime movers of, which then bleeds into the adductors and abductor talk. The main ones here are going to be some type of either cable movement where you are kicking out or kicking in, or doing things like clamshell walks, which I think are kind of a meme unless you're trying to do some quote-unquote pre-activation stuff. The big thing here are good girls and bad girls. They are a machine to where if the pads are on the outside and you are opening your legs, aka a bad girl, you are doing abduction. Abduction, being abducted away. If the pads are on the inside of your legs and you're squeezing them shut, those would be good girls, or doing adductions. Most guys are not going to be doing this. I've done them before. You will feel sore afterwards. They're just a little goofy, and with all the compounds that I'm doing, I don't really feel the need to do them. But if you really want to maximize them, or maybe even for some injury prevention type things, they could be a beneficial tool. For instance, I pulled my groin like 3 times my senior year. I was having a lot of issues. Once was my mistake. I slipped on some water and like fell into the splits. And then one was from football, and then one was from baseball. Besides doing like rocking frog stretches and everything else, the PT also had me do some adductor specific work. If you're a hockey player, for instance, your adductors are going to be a very, very important part of your leg muscularity. So these may be beneficial to you depending on sport or maybe just aesthetics. And there you have it. So if we were to break down this leg day and do a quick recap, we would have for the quads and also a lot of other things, a squat type movement, whatever variant you want, and a leg extension, hopefully in hip extension. If you can't do that, you may want to pair it with some sissy squats. They have the side benefit of really fucking bulletproofing your knees, which is great. For your hamstrings, you have a straight leg exercise, some type of hinge movement, and then you have a bent leg exercise like a leg curl. For your calves, at the very least, you need a straight leg movement. And if you want to optimize your training and get a little bit more volume into there, you can also do a bent leg and then some tibialis work. For your glutes, if you feel like doing something after the fact, you could do some type of kickback with a cable, but especially do some hip thrusts. And then finally, for adductors and abductors, if you did the kickbacks before, the abductors are probably covered, but good girls and bad girls are a great option. What this breaks down to is about 2 movements for quads, about 2 movements for hamstrings, about 2 movements for calves, and about 1 to 2 movements for glutes. So if you're doing a push-pull legs where you are having 2 of each session every week, meaning you have 2 push days, 2 pull days, and 2 leg days, you could break this up. Maybe one day is a quad focus with your squats and your leg extensions, and then just 1 leg curl followed by calf work. And then maybe another day would be your hamstring and posterior chain focus, where you do some type of hinge or straight leg hamstring movement, your sissy squats for your quads, and then you do something extra such as your hip thrusts or your abductions and adductions along still with calf work. Not everything has to get crammed into one day. Hopefully that makes sense. And hopefully now with this entire series, you guys understand how to select exercises for a push-pull legs type split. Oh, by the way, an entire recap video where I talk about everything related to push-pull legs besides exercise selection, but everything else will be coming out soon, so make sure you look out for that. If you like this style of content, please let me know. Maybe I'll make videos like this for upper and lower splits, or body part splits / bro splits, maybe a push-pull leg / Arnold, maybe just a regular push-pull split, which is different than push-pull legs, believe it or not. And guys, that's the video. If you like this style of content, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. I respond to every single one of them. If you really want to support me, you can follow all of these socials that have been on screen the entire time. They will be linked in the description down below. If you want to ask me a personal question, hit me up on any one of my accounts, shoot me a message, or especially join the Discord. I very much appreciate it. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. Oh, by the way, an entire recap video where I talk about everything related to push-pull legs besides exercise selection, but everything else will be coming out soon, so make sure you look out for that.